Order. The first item is our minutes. Are there any changes, corrections, or omissions that anybody's caught on the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Great. Are you guys here for the Horseshoe Pits, or you're here for the,
Sailing school.
yeah, so why don't we move to you first then, so you don't have to hang out here, and then, yeah.
Yeah, well, Paul was supposed to come, but I guess he's not here either.
So you guys want to go ahead?
Well, yeah,
okay.
I basically just have an update on
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
my conversations with the DNR and SEH, our kind of our flood study consultant. So basically, from what I understand and what the DNR has told me is that, you know, there's state guidelines and there's federal guidelines, and whatever the two are more strict are the ones that we have to follow. So in our case, it's actually the federal guidelines that we have to follow, FEMA guidelines. So any improvements, maintenance, changing the building, repurposing the building, all has to stay with under 50% of the overall value of the building, okay? So basically, we're at the point now where we need to know the value of that building, because we've never had an appraisal done on it. There was really no reason to have an appraisal done on it. So I did contact a couple of appraisal companies in the city that don't do commercial, that wouldn't be able to do it. So I reached out to a company in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, that has done work in the city before. Norby's is their name, Norby Associates. And he quoted me a price of $1,500 to do an appraisal for the Buckeye Street building. And what that'll do is that'll give us the amount, so then we can base our improvements, whether it be to the structure itself, to the bathrooms, so on and so forth. Hey.
There.
So we know kind of where we're at, because right now we don't know, you know. And so that's kind of the next step in the process if we do want to repurpose or you know, fix the building up, so to speak.
I'm in favor of we push it to the max,
Okay.
you know, is my feeling.
Yeah.
You know, I'm saying that on camera here as park board chairman, but that's the way I feel about it, that if that was an ordinary piece of ground sitting there, that could be, and there's liquor licenses available in the community. If it was sitting there as a vacant piece of ground, that could be a restaurant, it'd be a real valuable piece. You know?
Yeah.
And there's a place right across the street that was not supposed to exceed 50% of its value when they did it, and they did it anyway, and it's still there,
Yeah.
you know.
So do you want a motion to proceed with the appraisal?
Yeah.
I'll move to proceed with the appraisal.
Second.
Any further question regarding? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah.
You know, we want to. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
And we'll know.
it's, in my mind, if we were trying to skirt this for some personal gain or benefit to an individual, it would be, my personal feeling would be quite different about it. But when we're trying to do something like this that's good for the community, it's been a building that's been there older than the state. You know, who came first? Kind of, we're not creating a problem. We're acknowledging that there is one, that whatever is done to it,
Right.
floods and all of that stuff. But we still want to be able to use it for the community.
Right.
You know, we're not doing it for personal gain of any kind for any individual. It's us wanting it for us.
Yeah.
I don't to get all righteous about it, but it's really the heart of how I feel about it.
Yeah. So we'll look to take those monies out of the operating budget, 2019 operating budget, to pay for the appraisal.
Okay.
Okay.
Does that need to be in the motion?
No.
I do have a quick question. When they do appraise it, do they know a purpose that we're looking for with that building?
Yeah,
Retail or?
it's he named it a restricted appraisal. He'll look at the building, give it a value, look at the improvements, place a value on that, and then he'll look at comparables that have been sold within the region.
Okay.
And base a value on that, and then what we could get for, say, a rent or a lease, what would be an appropriate number on that as well. So it's multiple parts of the appraisal. It's not just giving us a lump sum number and that's it for $1,500. There's gonna be a report associated with it as
And I
well.
believe they're the firm that did the last overall city assessment valuation. So they should be real
Yes.
familiar with
Yep.
Hudson as a community to get an honest,
Yeah.
accurate read on it, because they know just how busy and what's all going on
Yeah.
over here.
Yep.
Good. Is Paul coming for the Horseshoe Pits, or are we supposed to
You
just?
know, I thought he was, but he must not be.
We can,
You can,
Okay.
Michael can take it.
we can discuss it.
You want to take that one, since you've been talking with him on it, Mike? And
Well, actually, Deb kind of talked to him, but community member reached out to Paul Anderson to request the addition of thanks, gentlemen. Request the addition of horseshoe pits up at Anderson Park. Currently, we don't have any horseshoe pits in any of our parks, and in fact, we have removed said horseshoe pits in the past just because of lack of use and maintenance, that type of thing. So there is that to consider, but Paul is requesting the park board approve the installation of horseshoe pits up in Anderson Park. We did attach a map on the back of the memo. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Anderson Park, you know, we have playground up there, just built a brand new restroom a couple years ago, basketball court, tennis court, pickleball court, a trail that kind of runs through it. So I mean, it's a neighborhood park and it gets a lot of use. I was up there today, helping fill some cracks on the tennis courts, and a lot of people using it, playing basketball, and families at the playground. So I mean, it is a very heavily used park in that neighborhood. So I guess we're bringing it to park board for discussion on whether or not I think it's a good idea to add horseshoe pits at that specific park. And I know it's not in the park plan or the outdoor rec plan, but that doesn't mean that we can't add them. So
So thank you, how is parking up there? Did we have was there something that came up about parking in that park? Or remind me about what that parking situation is?
Wasn't it on Mount Croy, wasn't it?
Yep, so, River Ridge Road is if you got your map on the west side of the tennis courts. River Ridge Road right now currently, you know, whenever, and it's really heavy during pickleball, you know, time in the mornings from 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. A lot of people will park on the shoulder, on the east shoulder of River Ridge Road, all the way to the corner. And then they'll park on the Mount Croy up here as well. And, you know, we have received phone calls on that Mont Croy River Ridge Road intersection that people can't see around it, so on and so forth. We're gonna be, when we're out painting yellow curb, we're gonna paint that curb so nobody encroaches on that, increase the vision triangle. But, I mean, it's parking an issue. I mean, yeah, for a few hours in the morning, absolutely.
So, is there another park that, and is there anything else we should know about the horseshoe pit, why they were taken out, or anything else that we should be considering, or as we're talking about this?
Well,
safety was part of the reasons that they came out, and why most of the bars and taverns have left horseshoes and gone to the beanbag. I don't know what you call the game, but it's a beanbag toss to a target instead for the safety reason. And more people are play that
Sure.
there in league than they were in playing horseshoes.
yeah.
And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I
Nope,
guess
I'm
to
sorry.
piggyback on that, my concern is A, will they get used? Who has horseshoes anymore? I mean, it's one thing for a bar or league to have a horseshoe league where they have multiple pits, but just one horseshoe pit in the park, who's gonna come and bring horseshoes to play? But the liability also, and just, you know, the maintenance, you know, as much as you go to our parks now and we can't keep up with the weeds in the playgrounds, around the playground border, and then we have, you know, a horseshoe pit, who's gonna go weed a horseshoe pit? So, I mean, those are some of my concerns, but I'll do whatever the board directs me to do.
So how would we manage equipment if we put them in?
It'd be, the city wouldn't supply any of the horseshoes, it would be bring your own
And we,
BYOH, bring your own horse.
and we just have a pit and stake there, the backstop.
Yep.
Anybody else have any thoughts or feelings about them?
I'm not strong on having to put them in, so I would tend to follow the recommendation. Yeah, if there was a number of people, obviously, behind it and really wanting it, I don't see the big deal in putting it in, but it sounds like we don't have a
Yeah.
huge request, is that fair to say? or-
It was one phone call, yeah.
Yeah, so I would wait until there's more of a public interest or something, yeah.
I would say to keep the heat off of you and city staff, we should say, as a board, we should say no, so it's not on them.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I agree.
Okay, so is there a motion to deny?
Well, I guess what I'm trying to, because we want to deny the, I would just do a non-action, actually. Is that all right? Because they're just asking. if they
Fine,
want
whatever,
to-
just to
No
keep,
action
just to,
taken.
Yeah,
I just don't want
because
to,
General consensus of the board was,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be-
If 30 people call you the next day and say, we watched it on tape and we really want it, uh-oh.
All right, let's go.
in Hudson, does that mean that there's going to be severe weather in the area, or does that mean there's been a sighting of?
I think it's
it should be there.
Yeah, I think it's St.
Is
Croix
a sighting.
I don't know
I don't know.
That's a problem.
that answer.
It's a city hall. This building has stood since,
I think it's just
1802.
that
We're
there's
fine.
severe, that there's been a severe thunderstorm watch.
Yeah, severe thunderstorm watch I have.
Okay. No tornado warning issued?
Not that I see.
No.
But, yeah, I thought if they spotted one in the county, they'd ring them all or something.
Yeah, we're right on the edge of it. Actually, we're just, we're kind of through it. It's going east of us. We're on the west side of the storm right now.
That's a hook echo.
Is it?
I watch too much weather, I don't know.
See, that's Hudson.
Yeah.
Up there. It looks like that's south of us, unless that's.
Right, I don't know which, I thought it was going pretty much straight.
That's what I was thinking too, so we should be coming out of it.
Yeah. Well, the windows aren't rattling, so.
I think we're okay.
Okay. We'll proceed.
Unless the windows
Yeah.
start flying out.
So you're just gonna inform them that there's
Yep.
not a lot of support on the part of the park
Yeah,
board
and
and,
we'll just call
leave
Paul
it.
and say, unless there's a substantial group of people the park board doesn't recommend installing the horseshoe pits.
You can find other people that really want to do this. We're open to talking to you in the future, and
Yeah.
we don't need to cut it off at the pass, you know.
Well, and maybe if there's a plan for equipment, I think we don't have pickleball equipment out, the pickleball association, so maybe if they have a plan to manage the equipment or something like that too, if there's this high level of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't leave horseshoes laying around, that's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like leaving a weapon lay there,
we
you
had them for
know.
one day in junior high. Pat Ott took one right off the top of his head.
That was it.
That was it?
One day.
Yeah.
Wow.
That, or they're gonna get thrown through somebody's
Yeah.
windshield, or, I
Yeah.
mean, up into the trees.
Hard to manage it, I think it would be hard
You
to.
know,
I don't even think you can buy horseshoes in a store anymore. Like all the yard games are they're plastic now.
Right.
Or they're
Rubber,
gloss.
more,
I mean,
probably rubber you
darts
could
or
find or
lawn
something.
darts or any
sure.
of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I've got a set that I probably haven't used, but it has 2 stakes and 4 horseshoes?
Yeah.
So what's the next level? This guy's asking for a court? Is that the little wooden backstop?
And a good pit so that the stakes are solid.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Liquid dirt, probably.
Buy some concrete
Okay.
pads on
usually
the
a mixture of
side.
sand and clay in the pit to.
So then would we need to be concerned about someone tripping, or is there safety issues or is that?
That's one of the
and
reasons why they were taken out to begin with.
Pipe sticks out.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
18 inches or whatever.
Yeah. Yep, I think we're good passing on it.
Yep.
Okay.
Sailing school, we've already talked about.
Yep.
So we're up to project updates.
Bunch of updates for the board. First one, concerts in the park. Deb, why don't you kind of let,
It's just I don't have the flyer, I guess I put it.
there should have been a flyer attached to your.
Yep. in the
Deb's been working hard on getting everything put together, and she's got the pamphlets made out. She's been distributing them here over the last couple days. Local businesses, downtown, coffee shops, so on and so forth. So the first concert is actually this Thursday, and then it's a full schedule for the summer and fall, as you can see. So,
Nice variety.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
And the
it's,
popcorn guy, he can work these concerts, right? He can go out
Yep.
there and sell 'em.
Yep, absolutely. That's the hope.
Yeah.
So that's basically the update on concerts in the park that, they'll be starting here this week and going throughout
Great.
the summer, so. Any questions on that?
no,
Okay.
Nice.
Second thing, Munch Bunch up at Prospect Park. The goats were dropped off last week, Wednesday. I met up there 2 Fridays ago with basically the owner of the goats. We kind of walked the park and kind of had a general consensus of where they're going to be placed. They're going to be hitting a lot of locations that were hit last year, just because it's typically a 2-year program to get a total kill. They are scheduled to cover approximately 7 acres of land, and then they'll be up there throughout the entire summer as well. So, but it was funny talking to her. She owns about 175 goats that she distributes to other communities, and that's all they do all summer long is just move all these goats around. So it's really interesting kind of work. But
Did we, last year, or did something happen when the fireworks were going off, or do they, how did?
Yep. So we did talk about that. She's gonna pull the goats out of town for that firework event, so that because they did get scared and they jumped the fence.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so she knows that this year. She didn't think it would be that big a deal because they're a little further away, but the way that it echoes in the valley,
Sure.
they got spooked, and so she's very aware, and she's gonna remove the herd.
great.
Okay.
And then will the paper, did the paper come out, or there was a story about the goat, right? Or
Did they do the goat drop?
No, they didn't do a goat drop story.
Maybe it was a one-time thing to start up the program, but last year they did the goat drop.
I can reach out to them for PR and say the goats
Yeah.
are back in town type
Yeah.
of thing, and they're working in these areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a neat thing. I mean, you go up
It
there.
is.
There's a lot of families up there.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
And to remind people to not pet the goats.
Yeah, and not to let them out.
Right, exactly. Because that happened too with they got let out a long time last year. Grandview Park restroom facility, that was approved at council, so we're proceeding with development of the specifications and bid documents. We're shooting for approval of bids, first council meeting in July. Okay.
Okay.
So we reached out to Brian, and he has the schedule that we want to get approvals done at first. So, as a board, I mean, does it typically come back to park board for approval, or does it go right to council once the bids are received? Usually just goes right to council.
Just right to council,
Okay.
we've already approved that we
Yep.
want to do it
Okay.
and set it. The only thing would be is if we needed to have discussion beforehand, that the number $250,000 was picked years ago out of the sky.
Sure.
If we're coming in at 275
Right.
Okay.
or something like that,
Then
rather than turning it down, I think the park board should discuss it and see where we can come up with the funds to do
Proceed.
that kind of thing if it looks like it's in peril.
Okay.
That make sense?
All right, fair enough. Band shell lighting has been completed. That project is done. We were down there last week, messing around with the lighting and seeing all the different things that it can do. So, that project is off the list. It turned out really good. So, and lastly, the concessions agreements. Council approved both concessions agreements, one with the Hudson Boosters for Grandview, and the other one with St. Croix Valley Popcorn for the band shells. So that was approved at the last council meeting. So they'll be at those facilities throughout the summer too.
Good.
That's all I have for project updates.
I haven't heard any complaints of any kind from any of the citizenry about something not being done in the parks, or, you know, being in bad shape, or the restrooms being a mess, or things like that.
Yep.
They've been, you know,
Yeah.
good comments from people,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
Lakefront Park, everybody's sad that it's flooded, but, you know,
Right.
nothing they can do about that.
Yeah, and it's, my office, the Public Works office, has received a couple phone calls with some of the dandelions and high grass. And I just want the people of Hudson to know that, we have 4 mowers going 5 days a week from 7 o'clock till 3 o'clock, and that, You know, we have 100 acres of parkland to mow, and that's not counting all the right-of-ways and green spaces and municipal buildings. So just imagine your own home, how many times you mow it, you know, every week, 2-3 times this time of year when it's growing like crazy. So, I mean, it's just, this week should help that there's no major rain events going on, so we should get caught up, but just bear with us, especially during this time of year, the spring, heavy growing season, so.
Yeah. Any other items for future agendas that people have thought of or have for consideration? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
One thing, I think a sign for Webster, I don't know if we talk about it here, if we just talk about it with your office, it's maybe not a board thing, but
Yeah.
I just think if we get a sign that says Webster Park, a little arrow right on Laurel there. My kids, we go there all the time, we play wiffle ball, they love it, but I just think a lot of people don't know it's there still, so.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little gem in the city that a lot of people just don't, because there's no signage for it, so.
Yeah.
We can definitely do that. We can do that in-house, so.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep. Okay.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.